What is truth? We say we want it. We demand it. We claim honesty is the highest virtue. But what if truth came in a jar? What if you could taste it, spread it on bread, feed it to your children? Would you still want it? Or would you discover that some truths are not just bitter, they are poisonous? This is the story of a beekeeper whose gift became a curse, a village that demanded honesty, and the terrible realization that once truth is spoken, it can never be unspoken. And the bees. The bees are always listening. Omari was the quietest man in the village of Tamu. He lived on the edge of the Nyuki Forest, tending his hives with a gentleness that seemed almost sacred. His bees were special, descended from a swarm that had settled on ancestral ground, untouched for generations. Their honey was legendary, golden, thick, with a floral note found nowhere else. People came from distant villages to buy it. But Omari didn't know the honey's secret. Not until the day Pendo came to his hut. Pendo was a young woman haunted by doubt. Her husband, Baraka, had been acting strangely, coming home late, avoiding her eyes, whispering in his sleep. She loved him, but suspicion gnawed at her like a termite in wood. Desperate, she sought out the old ways. She bought a jar of Omari's honey and, on the advice of a friend, ate a spoonful before confronting her husband. The effect was immediate. The honey didn't just taste sweet, it burned. Not her throat, but her mind. Visions flooded her consciousness, Baraka in another woman's hut. Baraka laughing, lying, promising forever to someone else. Every detail, every moment of deception, played behind her eyes like a living tapestry. When Baraka came home, Pendo didn't accuse. She simply looked at him. And he, meeting her eyes, began to confess. Not because he wanted to. Because he couldn't stop. Every lie, every betrayal, every hidden truth poured from his mouth like honey from a jar, unstoppable, golden, terrible. The village was stunned. Pendo, horrified by what she'd unleashed, ran back to Omari. "What have you given me?" she screamed. Omari, confused, tasted his own honey for the first time in years. And he saw it, the truth of his own loneliness. The bees he loved so much weren't just his companions, they were his substitute for the family he'd never had. The honey showed him his own heart, laid bare. He understood then. The bees had been feeding on the nectar of the Mzinga Grove, a place where the ancestors were said to have buried their secrets. The flowers absorbed those truths. The bees transformed them into honey. And whoever ate that honey could no longer hide from the truth, or keep others from revealing theirs. Omari wanted to destroy the hives. But the bees were his life. His only family. He couldn't do it. Instead, he tried to keep the honey's power secret, selling only to trusted customers who wouldn't abuse it. But secrets, like honey, have a way of attracting flies. Word spread. People came from across the region, not for the honey's taste, but for its power. A woman who suspected her husband of infidelity. A merchant who needed to know if his partner was stealing. A chief who wanted to expose traitors. They paid Omari in gold, in cattle, in promises. He grew wealthy. He grew proud. Only the elder Chausiku warned him. She came to his hut one evening, her ancient face creased with concern. "Omari," she said, "truth is not meant to be harvested like honey. The ancestors buried their secrets for a reason. Some truths are too heavy for living minds to carry. You are opening doors that should remain closed." Omari, flush with success, dismissed her. "The truth sets people free, grandmother. I'm helping them." Chausiku shook her head. "Freedom? Look at Pendo. She knows the truth about Baraka. Is she free? Or is she now a prisoner of knowledge she can never forget? And Baraka, his shame is now public property. He will never be trusted again. Is that freedom? Omari had no answer. But he didn't stop. The first sign of real trouble came when a young man named Duma ate the honey and began speaking truths he didn't know he carried. Not his own truths, his mother's. Secrets his mother had buried for decades, a stolen cow, a broken promise, a child born in secret in another village. Duma became a vessel for his mother's buried life, speaking in her voice, weeping her tears. The mother, Gloria, collapsed in shame. The family was torn apart. And Duma, once the honey's effect faded, remembered everything he'd said. He couldn't unknow. He couldn't unspeak. He carried his mother's sins now, grafted onto his own soul. Omari began to understand. The honey didn't just reveal truth. It transferred it. The burden of secrecy shifted from the liar to the listener. And once you carried someone else's truth, you could never put it down. The horror escalated. A woman named Salome ate the honey to learn if her sister, Susie, had stolen their mother's inheritance. The truth came, Susie had indeed taken the gold. But so did another truth. Salome, years ago, had let her own child drown to be free of the burden of single motherhood. A truth she had buried so deep she'd almost forgotten it herself. The honey remembered. And Salome, confronted with her own monstrous secret, ran screaming into the Nyuki Forest. She was found 3 days later, covered in bees, her body swollen with stings. The bees had claimed her. They always claimed those who couldn't bear the truth they'd swallowed. Omari was devastated. He tried to destroy the hives again, but the bees fought back, not aggressively, but defensively. They formed a living barrier around the Mzinga Grove, buzzing in patterns that seemed almost intelligent. They were protecting their gift. Their curse. Chausiku came to him one last time. The bees are not your servants, Omari. They are guardians. They have been tending these truths for centuries, waiting for the right keeper. You were never meant to sell the honey. You were meant to protect it. To ensure that only those truly ready for truth could taste it. You have failed. Omari fell to his knees. What do I do? Chausiku pointed to the grove. You must go to the heart of the Mzinga. You must taste the honey of the queen's own comb, the oldest truth of all. And you must decide whether to become the true keeper, or to let the bees reclaim everything. Omari entered the grove. The bees parted for him, acknowledging his right to pass. Deep in the forest, he found an ancient hive, massive as a hut, dripping with honey, dark as night. He ate. And he saw. He saw the first ancestor who had buried secrets here, a woman named Asali, who had hidden the truth of a massacre to protect the survivors. She had fed the bees with flowers watered by her tears, and the bees had learned to carry truth as well as nectar. For centuries, they had preserved the village's deepest secrets, waiting for a time when the truth could be told without destroying everything. But that time had never come. And now, because of Omari's greed, the truths were spilling out uncontrollably, destroying families, shattering lives, driving people mad. The queen bee spoke to him, not in words, but in a vibration that became understanding. You have released what was guarded. Now you must decide. Become the new guardian, and spend your life protecting the grove from those who would abuse it. Or refuse, and let the truths flow until nothing is left but ash and silence. Omari understood. He could not undo the damage. But he could stop more from happening. Omari emerged from the grove a changed man. He announced that the honey was no longer for sale. Anyone who already possessed it must return it immediately. Those who refused would face the consequences. Not from him, but from the truths they carried. Some complied. Others, greedy for the honey's power, hid their jars. They paid dearly. A merchant who kept his honey woke to find his entire stock of goods replaced with rotten food. The truth of his cheating laid bare in spoiled grain and maggot-infested meat. A woman who hoarded her honey found her children speaking her darkest secrets at the market square. The honey could not be contained. It would out. Omari became the new guardian. He built a small shrine at the edge of the Mzinga Grove and lived there alone, tending the bees, protecting the secrets, and occasionally, very occasionally, allowing someone to taste the honey if they were truly ready. Pendo came to him once, years later. She was old now, her face lined with the weight of knowing. "I wish I'd never tasted it," she said. Omari shook his head. "You wished for truth. You received it. The fault was never in the honey. It was in thinking truth was always a gift." Pendo nodded slowly. Baraka never recovered. He left the village. Died alone. The truth killed him, Omari said. But the lies would have killed you slowly. She had no answer. She left, and Omari watched her go, knowing he would carry the weight of all these truths for the rest of his life. Deep in the grove, the bees hummed their ancient song. They had found their guardian. Their keeper. Their prisoner. And in villages far and wide, people whispered about the honey that revealed truth. Some sought it. Some fled from it. But everyone knew, somewhere in the Nyuki Forest, a man lived among bees, guarding secrets too heavy for the world to bear. The honey was still there. Waiting. Sweet and terrible. And one day, someone else would come looking for it. Omari learned that truth is not always freedom. Sometimes it is a burden. Sometimes it is a weapon. And sometimes, most times, it is a secret that should remain buried, guarded by those wise enough to know when to speak and when to stay silent. His story teaches us that the truth will set you free, but only if you are strong enough to carry it. Otherwise, it will crush you like the heaviest stone. But what do you think? Was Omari right to sell the honey, or should he have protected the secret from the beginning? Is truth always better than comfortable lies? And what would you do if you tasted honey that revealed every hidden thing? Let me know in the comments below. The Mzinga Grove still holds secrets, and the bees are still waiting. To witness the next seeker who finds their way to Omari's shrine, you must subscribe and hit the bell. If tales of supernatural gifts and their terrible costs haunt you, you cannot miss the architect who designed a city that harmonized perfectly with the wind and Sunday. The link is on the screen right now. Don't forget to subscribe for more original, chilling tales from the Safari of Tales. We harvest stories as carefully as honey, one drop at a time. Until next time, be careful what you ask for. You might just taste it.